There we
No,
go.
I'm not
Let's go.
wearing this.
No, put it. Too late now. Welcome now.
No.
Welcome everybody to
We're using this as the start.
There you go. There you go. We got some. We got
This
some.
is guys, this is why you gotta listen to you gotta watch the podcast. If you're listening to the podcast,
Yeah.
that's a shame. Watch
The
it.
clips. They have it on the clips for you to watch. Unless you're driving the car, then that's okay. Anyway, welcome everybody to another episode of Hike the Y. I'm Connor, your host, joined by my fellow hosts, Brandon and Nate. Fellas, it's good to be with you again on this episode. Guys, it's been good. We're all looking good. We're dripped out. Nate's got the hat. I've got the hat. I'm rarely rep the Jazz with such pride with BYU and the Jazz. I mean, we got to celebrate getting Darren Peterson tomorrow
No, no,
in the
no,
draft.
no.
Ooh, whoa, whoa.
All right. But that's part of it. That's we got the
We got
you
the
got the
AJ
AJ
DeBonza
DeBonsa coming
jersey.
in.
We got the
Nice,
jersey,
nice.
guys. Guys, I just gotta say, I've been wearing my Jazz uniform. I've been wearing my AJ DeBonza jersey. Guys, when the Jazz win the NBA championship this year, I'm not gonna be called a bandwagon. Okay. I've been seeing a lot of Knicks fans being called bandwagons. I've been wearing my Utah Jazz shirt.
You gotta be
Oh,
wearing
that
the AJ DeBonsa jersey and the Jazz jersey at the same time tomorrow night,
Okay.
just to like help the stars collide and get AJ to the Jazz.
would be, fellas. It's tomorrow. The NBA draft, as
Oh,
of the recording of this episode, the NBA draft is tomorrow, Tuesday the 23rd. How are you
yeah.
feeling about this? This is big. This has been, as both BYU fans and Jazz fans, we've been waiting for this for a long time. How are we feeling?
I'm super excited. I mean, the Jazz have the second overall pick for the first time since like 1980s. And I mean, it in my lifetime, never. Like they've never had a pick this high. Really, really hoping that AJ DeBonta goes to the Utah Jazz. And it's funny because some people listening to our podcast, maybe they're based in the Washington, D.C. area, and they're like the exact opposite, everything we've been talking about. They've been like, no, 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 AJ should be picked by the Wizards, number one. But it's fun. It's fun having a great college team to cheer for, and then having your NBA team have some potential in this upcoming draft. So really excited.
Yeah, I think one thing that's been missing lately is there's not enough slander being spoken about the Utah Jazz. I've been seeing clips lately of the New York Knicks and just seeing clips in the past year like Jalen Brunson is washed. Jalen Brunson's not a good basketball player. That's what we need to start saying about the Utah Jazz, okay? Darren Peterson is trash. And I want this to be made into an edit when we win the national cha or not the not the national championship, when we win the NBA finals. Okay, guys, that's what's gonna happen.
Darren
That's
Peterson or without Darren Peterson?
with AJ DeBonsa or Darren Peterson. But
So
both
you're
of them,
you're
as of right now, are trash and they suck and they're never gonna matter to anything. And they're not gonna help the Utah Jazz at all. And the Utah Jazz, they're just garbage. And so if they win the NBA finals, this will be a crazy edit. I already know.
well, we'll see about that. But
Yeah.
I mean, this draft is super exciting. And we thought we'd kick today off just by going through our top five picks. We don't have time to do a full NBA draft analysis, all that stuff. But it would be fun to do the top five, especially with AJ DeBonsa definitely being there. And the other thing that's fun about this draft is it's so deep. You have players going at in the top 10 that could be in the top three in any other draft. And so it's just really exciting to see who wants to kick us off. Obviously, the big question is who's going to go number one. I think Nate might have already tipped his hand on who he thinks or wants will go number one. But yeah, Nate, you wanna officially say who you're thinking?
Yeah, if I want to kick it off, I gotta preface this with these teams are not ignorant. Okay. These teams have been looking at these players since they were 15, since they were playing AAU ball in the 15 and under basketball league. Okay, they've not been looking at Darren Peterson and AJ DeBonta this last season only, right? Of course, they're keeping that in consideration, seeing that they're playing on a higher level in college. Um, I do like Darren Peterson going number one overall. I think there's a possibility that Darren Peterson is the player that goes number one overall. I just don't think that AJ DeBonta can just match up to the
I
skill.
just have a quick question on this pick, Nate. If the Jazz were picking number one overall or any other team, would AJ be number one?
If the Jazz had a number one pick, if any team, not the Jazz, okay, let's say the Heat had the number one pick. I think AJ DeBonta and Darren Peterson are still a toss-up. I think the reason why the Jazz want AJ DeBonta so bad is to keep him here in Utah, to keep him locally, but he's a good player. They've seen what he can do. He's played in the Jazz arena. I think the Jazz are gonna want him here just because think of like all of the people who are not
What does
really
that have to
Jazz
do
fans.
with the number one pick?
Well, I know.
Because the Jazz can't really choose him if he's not on the board.
Okay, I
They
guess there's a
draft him
little bit of
twice.
bias here. There's a little bias here. I think AJ DeBonta is the better player and should go number one overall. I do. But I think Darren Peterson will go number one overall on Tuesday, and AJ DeBonta will be very disappointed, but will end up going to the Utah Jazz. Then my number three kind of changes. I like Caleb Wilson over Cameron Boozer, and then I like Cameron Boozer, and then I like Darius Acuff Jr. I like those as my top five picks going overall. I think Kean Wagler from Illinois is a phenomenal freshman, and right now on every single board he's going to go number five overall. But I just don't think he has enough oomph in him to go over someone like Darius Acuff Jr. And I think Caleb Wilson also has just a little bit more to go over Cameron Boozer if the Jazz don't pick him up. But that's my top five. That's my guess. Go number one overall, Darren Peterson, phenomenal basketball player. AJ DeBonta, Cameron Boozer, or no, Caleb Wilson, Cameron Boozer, and then Darius Acuff Jr.
You very
The
well
edit
could
of
have just
this
picked
from all this
every
time.
single pick incorrectly. There's a really
We
good
just
chance none of those picks happen.
write it down. We'll do a report on the next episode.
Oh
I think we
man.
need to edit though. We need to edit though of all the times that Nate has had absolute slander to say about Darren Peterson, and then
Oh man.
this last Darren Peterson number one,
Here's
exceptional
number
basketball
one.
player.
Oh man. All right, Connor, you want to go next?
Yes, sir. I think we should have counted down from five. We should have counted down five, four, three, two, one. But
Ooh.
I got
Should have.
number one. I think AJ DeBonta does in fact go to the Washington Wizards at one, and the Utah Jazz pick up Derek Peterson at two. There just seems to be such a in terms of even like every other team after that is just they're picking as if those two are the first two off the board. That's one of the near guarantees at this point, as much of a guarantee as you can have in a business like this. And then number three, I think that the Grizzlies do take Cameron Boozer. I think he pairs nicely with John Morant if they keep him. If they trade him, then obviously Cameron Boozer becomes the new centerpiece in Memphis. And I think Chicago Bulls would take Caleb Wilson. Those are four franchise changers that those four franchises respectively all need. And then number five, I do actually it was a toss-up for me between Darius Acuff and Kingston Flemings. I think both are a little lower on like some of the draft boards that I've been seeing. And so I do think that I would take like a Kingston Flemings or a Darius Acuff there at number five.
I
Yeah.
agree with you about the Kingston Flemings thing. I feel like he was pretty high on most people's boards until close to March Madness, where Acuff and Mikael Brown Jr., although Mikael Brown didn't really play in March Madness at all, they kind of have been rising in people's drafts. But Kingston Flemings is a decent defender, and I feel like he can kind of play on from all 3 points in the court. He can get down low, he can shoot the jumper, he can hit from three. He kind of reminds me of Jalen Brunson, except for a lot less saucy. I don't know,
Mm.
but that's a good point. Kingston Flemings would be a fun
He just
pick.
nails. He just nails. I mean, it does depend on what the Clippers say. they're in a huge advantageous situation here, having taken the clip from Indiana, taking the pick from from Indiana. So they have an advantage, and they're definitely paying attention. And I would bet that they're acting as if Devonsa, Peterson, Boozer, and Wilson are all off the board by 5 anyway. So they get whoever they want. They still have a really good pick of the litter at 5. This draft is just so loaded. I remember, I don't want to get too off topic, but I remember like the Jazz, the last pick that they had that I was here for, they had the 5 in, was it 20? It was a while ago. They picked Dante Exum at 5, an Australian player. And it was deemed a good pick. Like everybody was super excited about him, and he wasn't amazing. And I remember that. But like any of these guys would be really good at 5. Like this draft is just phenomenal. We shouldn't lose sight of just how good this draft actually is.
Yeah, that's what's so fun about it too, because I feel like this has been the draft that like it's been who's going to be number one, who's going to be number 3 and 4, maybe a little Caleb Wilson, like Nate's thinking 3 and 4, and then who's going to be 5 through 10, and like we really don't know mostly at all. We kind of feel like the top 4 are locked, but other than that, we don't know, and it's not like Alex Sarr or Zachary Richese where it's 2 guys for the number 1 pick that no one actually really wants. And it's not like a number 1 pick that people are caring about. But this year, like you can take anyone from the top 10 and still be super happy about it. So obviously, I'm super excited. I do think the Wizards are going to end up taking AJ DeBonsa at number 1. I really thought about this one because Darren Peterson would fit in really well with the Wizards. They do have a lot of young guards. And the thing about AJ DeBonsa is that he needs the ball in his hands. He's gonna have to he's gonna take probably 20, 30 shots a game in his rookie year. And that's gonna take away from the development of some of the Wizards' other guards, Keyshawn George, Trey Johnson. Those guys I feel like with AJ DeBonsa on the team are gonna take a step back. But I do think overall, pairing AJ DeBonsa with Trey Young and Alex Sarr, you have a lot of firepower there. You got a lot of places you can go on the court with the ball. And so I think the Wizards take him. Darren Peterson at number 2, the Jazz. There is still like a sour taste in my mouth when I think about Darren Peterson, just because all the injury concerns and never really seen the full potential he could bring. But I think if he does play to his full potential, he could very well be the best player from this draft. He's really tough to guard and he can shoot it really well. So I think Darren Peterson goes number 2. Cam Boozer at number 3. I think him and Zach Edey, if they end up playing on the floor at the same time, I don't know exactly how that would work with them both being pretty big and all that stuff. But Cam Boozer can guard multiple different positions. So I think it could work. You just have a big team, and if John Morant stays there, you got different looks you can go with that. And then 2 big men down low. That's always really tough to guard. Caleb Wilson at 4 to the Bulls. I feel like the Bulls just pick up whoever's left at that point. And then I do have Keaton Wagler at 5 to the Clippers. Most of the NBA draft boards have the same thing, and it's kind of a process of elimination for me. With Mikal Brown, I felt like I hadn't seen enough of him. And then Darius Acuff, feel like he could be one of the best offensive players in this draft for sure, but his defense still has stuff you kind of want from him. And then also just a bunch of NBA experts taking Keaton Wagler was like, I think I'll go this way. So yeah, exciting to see, but it's gonna be super fun anyway. Like whatever happens, it's gonna be such a fun draft.
Yeah, and it looks like Trey Young could potentially be signing another contract with the Wizards and staying another season. And so, like, when I think of Trey Young staying and just having AD on the Wizards as well, I kind of do like having AJ DeBonsa going over to the Wizards and getting a little bit of NBA experience from them because those are 2 phenomenal players that have had great seasons these last couple, like what, last 1 to 2 decades. And so I would like him to go to the Wizards to kind of get that experience. I think if he were to come to the Utah Jazz is a pretty young team. It's not as experienced as the Wizards, and so he wouldn't get the experience that would make him super, super successful in the NBA. And that was one thing that I was kind of critical a long time ago. But now that Trae Young could be staying and just having players like AD, I kind of do like AJ going number one overall and going to the Wizards. Even though, like Brandon said, I do have that bitter taste in my mouth for Brandon Sorsby. But I do hope that he
Sorsby or Darren Peterson?
or
For
oh,
both.
Darren Peterson. I have two sour tastes in my mouth. But with Darren Peterson, I hope when he comes to the Jazz, I hope that he's going to be a good player and that he defies kind of all expectations because I think a lot of BYU Utah Jazz fans are pretty bitter about kind of just how he was at Kansas. But he is a phenomenal player, and I do have to say that. These last couple of weeks, I have been hating on him a lot. It's true, but
Would
I would
would
be happy to see him come to the Utah Jazz.
would you guys be shocked if either Cam Boozer or Caleb Wilson was taken number two overall? Let's say AJ DeBonsa goes number one. You got either Cam Boozer, which I feel like is a lot more likely than Caleb Wilson. But some people have been like Caleb Wilson could go number two. He's a freak athlete and can really do a lot of things with the ball. Would you guys be surprised, shocked if that actually happened? If the Jazz passed up on Darren Peterson? Nate, you're nodding your head.
No, I like Boozer potentially going to the Jazz. And I my excuse is not because the Jazz or Boozer's dad works for the Jazz. It's not that. That's not the reason. I think with some of the rumors going around with the Utah Jazz center, Walker Kessler might be going, and so maybe you need to pick up a big guy.
Yeah.
And so maybe Boozer's the right pick instead of because you don't really need Darren Peterson on the Jazz. You don't even need AJ DeBonce on the Jazz, right? But if we miss a piece like a center, maybe we want to pick up a pretty good center like Boozer.
Good point.
Interesting. That by itself, I feel like is a pretty hot take that they wouldn't need a player like AJ DeBonsa or Darren Peterson on the Jazz. This
I
is
feel
the
like the
Well,
Jazz
the
have
worst
like
team in the West. So
I feel like the Jazz are pretty average at every position right now. And that's what's keeping them
they need a
back.
boost. Yeah.
They need a few stars.
I think though, Brandon, I think I would be a little bit surprised if the Jazz left Darren Peterson on the board. It must have meant that like there was something that came up that they didn't like, or something that they saw in a different player they just loved. Um, but I don't really think that's gonna happen. But if it did happen, that it would really surprise me, and the entire league would kind of be watching the Jazz and comparing them to how whoever does pick Darren Peterson, how they do. Should Darren
Yeah.
Peterson be left at two? The comparison will be there the entire season to see did the Jazz make the right decision.
Yeah, you don't want to be one of the teams that passes up on a superstar and then you just like are missing out on that for the rest of your life. Because Darren Peterson could very well have the most upside in this draft. And if you look at the 2018 draft where Luka Doncic goes number three, and the two picks in front of him weren't horrible, but they weren't great. And those teams are probably like, well, if we would have just picked Luka, or I guess Trae Young at the time, like
Either
you're
one, yeah.
really like you never know. But yeah, I think I'd be a little surprised. I wouldn't be completely shocked, but it seems like the consensus around the league is that it's going to be AJ and Darren Peterson, either one and two or two and one, however it's going to go. But I am probably maybe even more excited about the other BYU player that is going to be drafted and potentially the biggest riser in this draft over the past couple months. And that's Richie Saunders, who now I'm looking at it. Last week, my hot take was that Richie Saunders goes number 31 to the Knicks. And now I'm seeing some NBA draft boards that have Richie Saunders at number one, at number 31 to the Knicks. And so he just keeps
33.
rising and rising. Sorry, what?
Would it be 33?
No, I think it's
Start of
it's
the
the
second
first
round,
pick
or
of
is
the
that still
second
first
round.
round? Oh yeah, that would be 33 then.
Yeah, 33 through to the Brooklyn Nets if this 33,
No,
right?
31 is the Knicks.
31's the Knicks. Yep, 33 is
31's the
the
first round though.
No,
There's
but that's the
32.
NFL. The NBA only has 30 teams.
You're right. But I think it wasn't. Anyway, my bad.
Oh yeah, yeah.
31.
No, you're good. I mix it up all the time. I don't, yeah. But it would be, and then there's one with 33 to the Nets, which would be awesome to get Yegor Dioman and Richie Saunders on the same team. But yeah, I'm so excited for Richie to get drafted. I think he's one of those guys that could it is just going to be able to carve out a role in the league. And he's going to be able to play for 10 years just because of his grit and his hustle and rebounding. So super excited for Richie.
Oh yeah,
Amen.
and dudes like that they have a long career. I think there's a couple of those guys that come to mind on like the with his kind of hustle on the New York Knicks where you have like Jose Alvarado, like he's gonna only play 10, 15 minutes a game, but he's gonna give you 100%. And so I think that Richie Saunders can be that kind of guy, and he could be like a guy for six man of the year in a couple in not too long, honestly, just because of how good of a teammate he is. Every single NBA team should want him on their roster because of just how good he is and how glue you need a glue guy even in the NBA, and he is the ultimate glue guy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and just averaging 22 point. I'm looking at some of his stats, 22.5 points per game, 60. Wait, that's not right. It says he's 62% from three. Wait, hold on. And it says he's 6'5". Okay,
Source.
oh, this is not Wikipedia
Right.
is leading me astray, guys. Do not trust Wikipedia. But he averages around 20. I think it's safe to say that he could get you 20 points in a college game. And when that transfers over to the NBA, I do like the comparison of Jose Alvarado. And that is one reason why I think he could be picked up by the New York Knicks, just because of some of the draft picks that they've taken in the past and kind of seeing who they've taken and how they've gotten a lot of criticism from a lot of people about Miko Bridges and Jose Alvarado. Like they didn't take him, but he eventually got to the team, right? And so like it's just really interesting to see if the Knicks would continue and pick up Richie Saunders. So I'm excited to see where he goes. You know, I'm no matter where he goes, I'm going to be a fan and keep on cheering him on the next level.
Yeah. And I even think he could sneak into the first round. I really
Well,
do. Yeah, the main comparison is I think it's Jalen Tyson for the Cavaliers, who a couple of years ago he was projected to be a second round pick. The Cavaliers were like, you know what? We see something in him and we're not going to wait. They took him at pick number 20, and he's been an asset for them. And I think the same thing could go for Richie Saunders. You got to get your guy when you want him. And I think, like you're saying, every NBA team wants this guy. So really, really, I'm just so excited for Richie Saunders to get drafted. And I'm so excited to see him hopefully in the first round. That would be awesome.
That's
Richie Saunders is going to leave a scar in my heart because that is going to be the biggest heartbreak that I've ever had on Valentine's Day, in my entire life. And Valentine's Day is going to live in infamy as the day that he went
Yeah,
down with an ACL injury.
yeah, that was what could have been. What could have been for BYU this last season. Anyway, for this upcoming season, though, BYU still doesn't have a center. Although there are some reports that BYU is closing in on, hopefully I'm saying this
Xu
right because
Xin.
it's spelled with a couple of X's, Xu Xin, hope, something like that. Anyway, 7'5" dude from China who apparently has handles and I think he was like 73% from the free throw line this last year, averaging over 10 points a game and like 8 rebounds.
that is
So
that is Booth's free throw percentage combined with Keba Keita's. That needs to be
Oh,
said.
well, I mean, BYU, from what I've been hearing, and from what Nate has been talking about before we started the show, BYU's kind of been chasing after this guy for a while now, and they haven't really been looking at a lot of other dudes. And he's closing in on BYU. And so it'd be really awesome if BYU could lock that down. You kind of have your starting roster now. You kind of have your core together. You have a couple more guys you're going to bring in. But at that point, BYU can really start to focus on this upcoming season. What do you guys think about the center hopefully coming to BYU?
I think he's going to bring a lot of energy, and not necessarily that he's an energetic person, but I think the fact that we're going to get a big man. And he's not just like a big man like Kebaketa. He is a big
Massive
A
man.
big
man.
man.
And he's not a Wembanyama that's super skinny. Just he's no bull, right? He is a big boy and he knows how to move. I've seen a couple of clips of him playing overseas, and he knows how to move. He knows how to grab a ball and he knows how to put it in the hoop. And I think
I would
that's the
hope so.
biggest thing that we need, right? Watching him play, getting blocks, has great eye to hand coordination, just being able to grab rebounds. That is something that BYU needs because we have people that can shoot and score from beyond the arc. We need someone who can come down with some big blocks, some big dunks, and just be there in case, like, just put up 10 points a game. That's all they really need. They don't need someone who's going to average 20 points a game in the center position. They need someone who can just get 10 points, 10 rebounds, and just sit down on the bench and be real happy about that.
Yeah, I'm excited. I hope they can get him. Um, and I do hope all the reports are accurate. I think that'd be a good grab because Nate's right. I mean, we do want an impact player, and he would be an impact player. I do definitely think of like when BOU had Matt Harms a couple years ago, the 7'1" center. He just caused a lot of havoc that the stat sheet didn't really keep track of. And I think that hopefully you can have another player like that, and it allows the rest of your offense and the rest of your defense to revolve around that and just have everybody look up to him, literally.
It's got to be like our fifth Matt Harms shout out of the podcast. We're
Yeah,
shouting out
I
Matt
really
Harms a
like
lot.
I really like Matt Harms. I miss him.
Oh yeah, he's a great guy. But yeah, obviously hoping the reports are correct because if BYU ends up not getting this guy, and we really were pretty much just pursuing him, that'd be pretty bad. But another big man that there there's no connection to BYU at all, but I think is worth mentioning is Mustafa Cham, which he is committed to play for Michigan. He's on Michigan right now. But Michigan's head coach, Dusty May, I think as of today, just got hired to be the Mavericks head coach in the NBA. And so the Michigan team that was expecting a head coach that just led a team to a national championship, they're going to have someone else now. Um, and so that's really big because if Michigan decides to go elsewhere and hire, let's say, some coach from another Power Four school, and then another coach comes in from somewhere else, kind of like the Mark Pope situation we saw a couple of years ago, where there's just chaos in coaching at the March Madness level. Um, there could be a lot of transfers up for grabs, and that could be really good for BYU, who still has four spots to fill. So Mustafa Cham kind of wreaked havoc last year for Cincinnati. Maybe he could be playing for BYU. Who knows? But yeah, we really don't know what's going to happen in college basketball until the first ball is thrown into the air. And really, maybe not even after that, after G League players started coming in last year. But super exciting times.
And I love
Yes, sir.
Bruce Branch the Third's quote. He was on BYU TV the other day and he said, "Guys, come to BYU. I throw lobs." I'm super excited to see Bruce Branch the third throw some lobs to our big man overseas, whoever that may be. Okay, like whoever if it's Xu Xin, like just
Yes.
how crazy would that be every time he like shoots a free throw? Everyone's like
Celebration.
Xu Xin or something like
He
that.
gets
That'd be
blocked. He gets
insane.
blocked. You go.
Xu Xin. Because this is
Whew,
like you get an
that would go
accent. You
crazy.
go,
Oh
"Ooh,
my
I like that,
God.
Connor.
crazy." So
We'll start
Rock,
it. We'll get the
hit us
Rock
up.
admins to Zoo.
Xu Xin.
Ooh, that's actually such a cool celebration.
On
Thank
a
you.
Hopefully,
block, bro. You get rejected
yeah.
by Zoo.
Xu Xin. Go
I'm
I
hoping
tough.
like
we
it.
can
Let's
do
get
that a
this guy
lot
here
next year.
first. Let's get this guy here first. Guys said the same thing about what's his name about Luigi Swigo. I thought that there could have been some cool stuff there, but he did
Look
not
like
come to BYU.
Mario.
So with Mario,
Uh-uh.
yeah, and alley oops
Guys,
from Rob Wright.
tag him in the comments below. Let's get Xu Xin over here. Everyone
Oh
tag him.
man,
All right. Moving on to BYU football, which we're going to be talking a lot more about after the NBA draft, which is going to be super fun because it's finally football season again. But anyway, yeah, I guess it doesn't necessarily have to do with BYU football. Brendan Sorsby, which we mentioned in our last podcast, and news came out almost immediately after our podcast was posted. Brendan Sorsby is no longer a Texas Tech Raider. He is going to the NFL, entering the supplemental NFL draft, which is pretty much a secondary NFL draft where teams can kind of give up a pick in the actual draft to take someone. And it's kind of complicated to explain. But anyway, Brennan Sorsby will likely be drafted by some team. Um, he is considered first round talent. Maybe wouldn't be a first round pick because of all the stuff that's been going on. But it's going to be interesting to see kind of what the locker room situation is going to be like in the NFL and all that stuff. But what we care about is how that affects BYU because BYU doesn't have to go through Texas Tech. The Big 12 doesn't run through Texas Tech anymore, really, unless they can find a way to get some of their quarterback. It seems like the Big 12 might run through BYU. So that's pretty interesting. Like, I feel like that's something that's never really been said before that the Big 12 is going to run through BYU. Is this BYU's uh, Big 12 championship to lose at this point? What do you guys say?
I don't think I would say that on a knee-jerk reaction. I would say that it's still too open to necessarily say that we're the number one favorites. Whoever comes in, Texas Tech, as they proved last year, they don't need an absolute baller at quarterback. They were just excited because they were getting somebody that was significantly better than um, their quarterback from last year. So in Sorsby, they were going to get somebody significantly better than they had in 2025. I still think that they're the favorite because their defense is just so good and the rest of their supporting cast is just so good. And all their players who I was going to shout out, I do not remember any of their names. They just left my head, but they are all still there except for Sorsby. So I think that nothing should really change, that it should still be. I also don't want the pressure on BYU. I think BYU performs really good under the radar. I've mentioned it over and over again. I'm going to keep saying it because I love it when we can do that and we can operate. Because I do think that we are just as good a team as Texas Tech, but I want that national media to not necessarily be talking about it so much, so then we can focus a little bit more on just winning our games. But I do think there's some other good teams there. Arizona could really take another step forward. Utah with the new head coach and maybe some revamped guys coming from recruiting and whatnot, that they're really up there too. There's a lot of guys that could surprise people too. Who knows how the new hires will pan out around the conference. I do think it's the most wide open conference of the Power Four for sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
I think we're gonna have a bunch of contenders this upcoming year. Um, if I could give a couple of people who I think are gonna make a big difference in the Big 12, you're not gonna expect this, and people are gonna laugh
Oh,
at me right now, okay?
let's see.
But this is serious. I would say Avery Johnson
Oh,
from K-State, the Kansas
Okay.
native who's staying
the
another year at
long-haired,
K-State.
beautiful man, Mr. Sunshine.
Mr. Sunshine himself. He's a dual threat player who's staying at Kansas State for another year, and I think he's going to have a breakout season this upcoming year. I think Kansas State could be dangerous. I don't think they're going to be the number one team that you got to be worried about. I think those two teams are Texas Tech, BYU, of course, and I hate to admit it, but I think the Utah Utes, right? I think if Texas Tech is unable to get a really good quarterback and that kind of just really somehow hurts them to an extreme, I agree with everything that Connor says. But if that hurts them a lot, it's going to come down to BYU versus Utah, that rivalry game. I feel like it's going to come down to that game. If Texas Tech is out of the picture and it's just BYU and Utah, who's going to win in BYU versus Utah at Utah this coming year? And then if we meet back up with them for the conference title, I think it's going to come down to BYU, Utah, Texas Tech, and I think a fun little kind of wrench in this whole thing is K-State. I think Avery Johnson and that team could kind of have a couple surprises up their sleeves.
Could be fun. Could be fun.
That would be
It could be
fun.
true too.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm so excited for this BYU team. And I mean, I feel like this is kind of the year that BYU has to win the Big 12 because Texas Tech, I mean, I agree with what you're saying, Nate, but I think that BYU kind of has an edge now that they don't have their quarterback. BYU has maybe their toughest Big 12 opponent in week 2, and BYU's opened seasons really well as of recent. They have just gotten off to hot starts. And that's Arizona, by the way, who I was talking about. I feel like if BYU can beat Arizona in week 2, kind of get into their groove, and then maybe you can beat Notre Dame at home. That would be, if you can do that, and you can maybe not lose to Utah, maybe you lose one game. Iowa State is not going to be tough this year after their head coach and pretty much everyone on the roster left. Like, you've got a clear path to the Big 12 championship. And I feel like if you're going to do it, this is kind of the year. Bear Bachmeier is hopefully going to be getting into his prime. LJ Martin is the best running back in the Big 12. Maybe you don't have the wide receiver core that you want. But other than that, BYU is a pretty stacked team.
But the tight ends,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
We got
what's
some
really
dudes,
not to
bro.
like?
the
It's
tight
a great
ends,
team.
and
Great
guys,
defense.
our running is so deep. We have so many phenomenal running backs. If LJ Martin's not running, there's someone else to put in his shoes. Sorry, Connor, for interrupting you. Go ahead.
You good, bro? No, man. I agree with you. I think this team is really exciting. I'm super stoked. I think this is gonna be really good. I do definitely think, as something that I want to say, we do need Utah to do good this year because they are one of the best. They're one of our better opponents in terms of right now on our schedule. An away win at Rice Eccles would look so good for the playoff committee, but only if Utah can perform well besides
Mhm.
us. That definitely helped us get right outside the playoff bubble this last year, was beating Utah at home. That was a big deal. But only because Utah won 10 games. So we need them to do basically the same thing again, beat everybody else except for us, which I know sounds weird, but I'm going to be pulling for Utah in some of these games because they need to do good.
Yeah, I mean, the last thing that BYU wants is to have a great season, and then all their big wins don't mean anything. If Notre Dame doesn't play well, if Arizona doesn't play well, if Utah doesn't play well, and they get these quote unquote big wins that end up not being big, and the college football playoff committee leaves them out again, I don't really know what BYU is supposed to do at that point.
But if we win out the Big 12, don't we
Yeah,
automatically get a bidding
always
in?
hope.
So I
You'd like to
think
think so.
I
Just
would
win the
like
Big
to
12, easy as that.
win the
Yeah.
Big 12. That's our biggest goal right now. If we lose the Big 12, we're gonna run into the
Actually,
same
why don't we
situation
just
we
win
did.
the national championship?
Hey,
Like, why
Ooh,
not
why
just
I'll,
do
not
that?
think of that?
guys, I'm on board. Let's do it. Someone call
Let's
Bear
do it.
Bachmeier. Let's get him on the phone. Let's get him on the
Ball up
podcast.
right now.
Bear Bachmeier, come on the podcast.
We got some ideas for your guys' season.
Listen
Nah, bro.
to us. We're
But hey, that's, gentlemen, we're so excited. Football season is almost back. We are almost here. This is going to be really good. Um, can't wait to see what happens at the draft tomorrow. Everybody watch that. It's at 6 p.m. Nate, do you have one more thing to say?
Yeah, you got to cue the Delta Dawn edit. That's if you haven't seen Delta, look up Delta Dawn college
Idea.
football edit. You'll be so inspired to watch college football. I just got to say that before we
Amazing.
go.
Hey, man, that's good. College football is almost back. But anyway,
Yes.
everybody keep enjoying all the sports that are right now, World Cup, whatever. And we will see you on the next episode of Hike the Y. Can I get a go dogs?
Go dogs!
Go dogs!
Take 'em.
Shit.